So welcome back. It is Tuesday, 8:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is fight week. Plenty of fights coming up this week with Deontay Wilder taking on Robert Helenius on PBC on Fox pay-per-view. You have Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall over on ESPN along with Michaela Mayer versus Alicia Baumgartner. You have Caleb Plant taking on Anthony Durrell as the undercard or co-feature or chief support to Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. Over on the DAZN, it's going to be Saturday morning time for us here in the States. Over on the DAZN, you are going to have Liam Paro taking on Brock Jarvis. That's a Matchroom Eddie Hearn card. And basically how we're going to be doing this video is we're going to be talking about multiple subjects. So at the end of the video, we're going to talk about Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. And if I'm going to be honest, it's not a fight that I'm really looking forward to. It's not a fight that fans really asked for, but my colleague who we have on the line here, Big J, is going to be once again giving some fight week on-site content that we'll be using here on the channel. So, but first, let's start off with some further down the line of Australian boxing news here. Something that came out over the weekend that I didn't get a chance to really dissect. But let's go listen to Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown, former, it's crazy to say, you know, heavyweight champion. He had a WBA world title several years back, 31-3 with 27 KOs, 43 years old. Last fight was a upset first round knockout of a junior FA on the undercard of Haney versus Kambosos won. So here's what he had to say.
Have come off.
Now, this interview is going to be 2 minutes long. Well, not the interview, but his video that he released is going to be 2 minutes long. So we're going to talk about this. He was in talks to fight Daniel Dubois, and shame on Daniel Dubois. And basically, the British Boxing Board of Control stopped the fight.
Have come off 2 great knockout wins of one of the better fighters in Australia and an up-and-coming fighter in Junior FA, knockout in round 1. I'm currently holding an IBF and a WBA regional title and a top 15 world ranking with the WBA. I'm apparently too old. So you finally get the greatest news ever that you can fight for a world title, and some board somewhere says, oh no, he's 43, he's too old, we're not going to sanction it. How sad is that? Like, wow, it's not like I've been beat around the head all my career. I've got 3 losses in total. You know, like, how does this work? How exactly does this work where a body of people who are obviously too old to fight themselves just go, oh no, he's too old, we're not going to worry about it. I'm coming off 2 great knockout wins with 2 belts and a world rating. How am I too old? If I'm too old, I wouldn't have any of that. If I'm coming off losses, totally understand. How in any way whatsoever is that right? And how can that be allowed to stand? I don't understand. So again, the guy from Australia gets fucked over again. And that's the problem with boxing. It's money and politics. If you don't have the money and the politics to back it up, you get fucked over. And that's been my entire career, unfortunately. My entire career, I have been fucked over by everyone in boxing. Every country, no matter what it is, you know, there's always been something, always will be something, and it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth about boxing. I'd never want my kids to ever go into boxing because I think it's fucked from start to finish. From amateurs and into professionals, just with the money and the politics bullshit. Why don't you just let people fight and be done with it? So that's my 2 cents for today. I'm fucking pissed off.
Now let's dissect that. Lucas Brown, I'm going to pull his resume up right here. He had beat a Ruslan Chagiev for the WBA world title, and that title's been cursed and in limbo ever since. This was back in March of 2016. And we're not going to spend too long on this, but basically, in my opinion, he does have a beef. The reason is because he is a ranked fighter. What's the point of being ranked if the British Boxing Board of Control in the States here, it would be something like the Nevada State Athletic Commission, or the California State Athletic Commission, that would step in and stop the fight. But what's the point if you're ranked? And yeah, he's 43 years old, but it's not like he's shown like a it's either he knocks you out or he gets knocked out. It's not like he's known for getting like really, really beat up. Yeah, he's been brutally knocked out before, but basically I don't agree with the decision. So he's ranked number 11 by the WBA. That's over Ajit Kabial, Kevin Lorena, Big Baby Miller. What's your thoughts on this? Now, me personally, I think that Trevor Bryan, by the way, not Trevor Bryan, Daniel Dubois, who's the WBA world champion, the mandatory for Alexander Usyk. No, correction. From my understanding, the winner of Michael Hunter and Hughie Fury was supposed to fight Daniel Dubois to be the mandatory for Alexander Usyk, but I don't think Daniel Dubois should be fighting that caliber of opponent in Lucas Brown. But I don't think that the British Boxing Board of Control should have stopped the fight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think they just don't want another Dylan White on their hands because, poor old Lucas Brown really got fucked up pretty bad by Dylan White. So, and he got gut punched and knocked out in 3 rounds by Dave Allen. So,
I'm guessing it would be ugly if Daniel Dubois is good, by the way.
His record in England's not that great for Lucas Brown. So, okay, the British British whomever they are chase it off. Okay, we'll just go do it in another country. Have it here. Just because one mob won't let you fight, go do it somewhere else. There's plenty of other places that will. Yeah. So, and that too old thing, that's bullshit. I mean, George Foreman won his titles back at 45. So, he's not too old. I mean, there's plenty of heavyweights floating around the, late 30s, early 40s mark. So,
and Daniel Dubois is 18-1 with 17 KOs, 25 years old. His last fight was against Trevor Bryan. Notable wins over Bojan Dinu, lost to Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce broke his eye socket. Me personally, I think that, Daniel Dubois would slaughter Lucas Brown, and maybe that's what the British Boxing Board of Control is protecting him from. But there is some other heavyweight.
Lucas Brown doesn't get his punch in first.
Yeah, true. There is some other heavyweight action this week with Deontay Wilder taking on Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius is a well-established sparring partner to Deontay Wilder. It's going to be here in the States on PBC on Fox pay-per-view. Now, I'm not a fan of fighters fighting sparring partners, let alone fighting sparring partners on pay-per-view. Robert Helenius is dangerous, but one thing we know about Robert Helenius is when he gets hit or he gets knocked out, it's going to be very ugly. And if he gets knocked, and I think like this, Robert Helenius is a better skilled boxer, technician. Not call him a technician, but technically better than Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder, once he touches you, you go down. So what's your brief predictions on that fight?
Couldn't give a shit, to be honest. There's too much else going on. That's my honest thoughts.
Yeah, for real. So, it's not really, it's just to stay busy. Fight for Deontay Wilder after being brutally knocked out by Tyson Fury a year ago. Actually, what was that? A year ago, a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it was about that. Yeah. I mean, this weekend's far too busy to even pay any attention to that. So
yeah. So there's been some news since I have you on the line. There's been some news of potential Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora 3. Now, me personally, I think that Tyson Fury's, has been, very erratic in calling out everybody, but I think that him fighting Del Boy Chisora again is a disgrace. Like, personally, like, I don't want to see this shit. I'm gonna cover it, but it's just like, he beat him convincingly twice. The second fight, he beat him left-handed. He beat him southpaw and battered him too. It was stopped. So why do they think that fans, would entertain him fighting, a guy he already beat already? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm getting sick and fucking Tyson Fury. I mean, if he calls Usyk a middleweight, right? Oh, the middleweight. I'm going to bash the middleweight. Well, then do it, you fucking pansy. Put your money where your mouth is. Stop gobbing off. If he's such not a threat, You call him the middleweight. Get in and beat the piss out of him then, because you've got what 7 inches of height on and probably 60 pounds in weight.
Mm-hmm.
What are you so afraid of? AJ, the bodybuilder. Well, if he's no threat, then get in and bash him one.
Mm-hmm.
Why go and bash up Derek Chisora? You've already kicked the shit out twice. Fuck off.
You know,
I'm getting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Tyson Fury. What's he call everyone? Dosser. He's a fucking dosser. Yeah, the shit he carries on with is like, he's just got overzealous for me. And I'm like, now you're just acting like a pure dick.
You know, like he's retiring, unretiring. You know, he's supposed to be fighting this guy, fighting that guy, and I don't believe anything he says anymore. You know, like, so I'm overall like I'm done with him. You know, like he.
If you want to be the best,
what'd you say?
Sorry, if you want to be the best heavyweight of this era, prove it and beat the best heavyweight there is available. Fight Usyk. Stop his farting around, calling everyone a dosser, calling everyone a middleweight, calling everyone a bodybuilder or whatever. Stop with the bullshit excuses and fight. Simple as that.
Yeah, and by the way, there's supposed to be at least $50 million on the table, for him to fight Usyk. According to an ESPN report about a month and a half ago. I forgot which card they talked about it.
Yeah, well, I'll fight Usyk for $50 million. I'll put that on the record.
Yeah, and that's at least $50 million. It's crazy. So I don't think that he wants to fight Usyk. Me personally, I don't know. And even with the Joshua thing, I tried to have hope that fight could possibly happen this December after Joshua lost in August. But when I look at what Eddie Hearn, we want to talk about his card next before we move on to the ladies. When I look at what's been going on with Eddie Hearn. And how he's been losing cards, and right now he's under some scrutiny because he tried to go through with a recent card of Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, which has been canceled despite Conor Benn failing a drug test. He tried to push on with it, so that put him in the bad light. But did you have any faith that Fury versus Joshua would have happened this year?
Yeah, actually, I had a lot of faith. Actually, and I really wanted that fight to happen because even though Joshua got beat by Usyk convincingly twice, it's still a rather interesting fight. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I prefer Fury versus Usyk because that's a fight that the heavyweight division needs. But, I mean, yeah, there's like everything. You got to look at everything from all angles, which is what we do here. It's not all just Fury's fault. There are other factors, but Fury just acts like a complete tosspot when he carries on with all this bullshit. I mean, anyway, I'm retiring. I'm not retiring. I'm going to fight him. I'm not going to fight him now. You're going to fight Derek Chisora, who you've wiped the floor with twice. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
What's this Floyd Mayweather bullshit he's pulling? So
yeah, because now you don't know, like what to take him seriously with because he's just all over the place.
Yeah, he's gobbing off left, right, and center. Anyway, next subject.
Yeah. So speaking of Eddie Hearn. What do you think about now it's actually fight week, so this is technically, like our fight week preview for this weekend's card that's going to be here in the States, actually globally on the DAZN, here in the States on the DAZN, over in the UK on the DAZN, and in Australia on the DAZN, where you're going to have 140-pound contender Liam Paro, 22-0 with 13 KOs, taking on a Brock Jarvis, 20-0 with 18 KOs. And we talked about this fight at least about 4 different times on the channel, where basically Brock Jarvis is a 126-pounder, a guy who fought at 122 pounds back in August of 2019, now fighting at 140 pounds. So, I mean, interesting fight to where, you've talked about multiple times how you feel like, it's no reason for this fight to be happening. It's too soon. But with this fight competing the same weekend with Devin Haney versus George Kambosos 2, which is going to be broadcast here in the States over in Australia on the Australian's biggest boxing platform, main event pay-per-view. Run down for those who don't know what your thoughts on this fight and how basically you're saying this fight's going to flop and be a failure over there.
Yeah, it's really disappointing because this is a good fight because, Liam's a good fighter, Brock's a good fighter. But the thing is, the significance of this fight is that there really isn't any because Brock's never fought at 140. He had one fight at 135 and almost got the shit kicked out of him by a Mexican journeyman.
Yeah.
Liam's putting his #1 spot at the WBO ranking on the line, all right, against Brock. The fight makes absolutely no sense, and Eddie couldn't have put it on a worse date. So the night before Haney Kambosos 2, all the media's down here, all the major media players are down here in Melbourne covering the fight. Brisbane's 2 states away, so it's like a fight happening in Florida and Brock Jarvis Paro's happening in New York, and all the media's in Florida. So there's the American equivalent, right? So it's just crazy how, I know Eddie probably got forced into this, but Eddie's been shooting. Eddie shot himself in the foot about 6 times in the last month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an absolute disaster what he's been doing. Too many cards and not enough quality cards, because Conor Ben got shot to shit. He's making Montana Love versus Stevie Spark in Ohio, which no one's going to care about. And then to piss us all off, he's taken Ebanie versus Shannon over to the fucking UK.
To Leeds, yeah.
So, yeah. And everyone's pissed about that. I mean, everybody. There's not even the Americans. The team Haney I was talking to yesterday, they're going, why is that in the UK? Should be in Australia. So people from other countries are going, what? Why? So, yeah, I don't know what Eddie's doing at the moment, but he's shot himself in the foot quite a few times.
I mean, so, I'm not doubting that Paro versus Jarvis won't be a fun fight. I think it'll be a fun fight.
Oh, it'll be a great fight. Yeah, it'll be a good fight.
But the fight's not going to really get any exposure. And when is this fight taking place over there? Is it going to be regular? Like it's going to be Friday night. It's going to be Saturday night for you guys, and Haney Kambosos is going to be on Sunday afternoon.
Morning. No, Sunday morning. Sunday. So Liam Brock kick off about 6, 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And Haney Kambosos the next day will kick off about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So there's about 12 hours. Yeah, there'll be about 6, 7 hours between cards from, finish the start of the next one. So, And then you're also squeezing, Shields Marshall in there as well, which will probably kick off at 4 in the morning Australian time. So it's just this hasn't been planned well. I mean, this weekend is so jam-packed. You're going to have to literally have one eye looking in one direction while one eye looking in the other. You're splitting the media, the fans. This is all going to go tits up. The whole weekend's just going to be shit.
Yeah. Here's what the Paro Jarvis undercard is looking like. You are going to have obviously Paro versus Jarvis as the main event. Then as the chief supporter co-feature, Dempsey McKean versus Patrick Corte. Sky Nicholson versus Christina Jacobs. And Abdoulaye Mayweather versus a Cesar Tapia, no relation to Floyd Mayweather. So
that's going to be probably the fight of the night, that one.
Yeah, and and I'm looking at the card. Like, I don't know. Do you know a Dylan Biggs or a Jalen Tate or a Rocky Ogden? I don't know any of these people.
I've heard of Rocky Ogden. I think he's appeared on a main event undercard here and there, but yeah. These are not fighters that I follow religiously because I just don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So obviously Dempsey and Liam, Brock, Sky, we followed them. Mousy Jacobs, I've seen her fight. But the others not really. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting card, and it will be on Fox Sports and KO Sports in Australia. So I'll sit down and watch it. Because it's something to do, but it's not the card I'm sitting around waiting for, if that makes sense. So I'm obviously more interested in Haney Kambosos too than that card.
All right, so who do you have, Paro or Jarvis?
Oh, Paro. I think that Paro is far too experienced in every way. His whole career's been at 140. Brock's moving up, even though Brock's going to be the bigger fighter, and he's filling into his frame quite well. I don't know about his punch resistance, and I don't think a lot of people think about that when a fighter moves up in weight. They can he carry the power? Well, it's not the power he needs to carry; it's the punch resistance because he's got bigger guys,
hitting him,
heavier guys hitting him. So that's
guys that can also probably compete in bigger divisions, so they can carry their power up as well.
Exactly. So it remains to be seen, but I think the clear advantage is with Liam Paro. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah,
but then again,
know,
that might be a shock upset. Who knows?
The size, the experience at the division. You know, I'm guessing you would think that with Jeff Finnick, maybe, maybe Brock would be the faster fighter. I don't know, but I'm interested in the fight. The undercard, not too much.
Yeah, the fight itself is intriguing because you're like, you don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
But having said, as I said, it's still like it doesn't need to happen at the moment, and yeah, it's still just a head scratcher. You're like, meh. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because everyone's focused on Haney Kambosos.
Yeah. By the way, Teofimo Lopez is going to be on December the 10th. Teofimo Lopez is ranked #1 by the WBO as it stands right now. Liam Paro #2, but Teofimo Lopez is going to be taking on Jose Pedraza on December the 10th. That's nearly officially confirmed. But Liam Paro, and Regis Prograis, and Jose Zepeda are going to be fighting for that vacant title. I forgot exactly the date, but it's down below in the description box. I updated the fight schedule as of today, October the 11th. So if you look down below in the description box, you'll see that the boxing schedule is updated by network. And also at the bottom of the screen there and down below in the description box, you can see Big J's Twitter at Old Mate Big J. And you can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. So take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy and at Old Mate Big J, and the FightView360 Boxing Podcast, where you'll be able to listen to this episode and more in audio format. So another fight that's going to be creeping up on us soon. It's going to be taking place on December the 10th over in Leeds in the UK. You're going to have Ebanie Bridges, IBF bantamweight champion, taking on Australia's Shannon O'Connell. And I guess I'm saying Australia's because it looks like Ebanie Bridges is no longer Australian. So, Big J, we're going to be talking about this fight a lot. We have already for some time now. Both of us, I think at one point in time, you didn't believe the fight was going to happen, did you? You thought that Ebanie probably was going to try to duck?
No, I always had. Once the IBF made it official that they had to fight, I knew it was going to happen.
Okay, I'm talking about before, though. Before. You didn't think that, what did you think it was going to happen?
Oh, no, Ebanie was going to avoid it like the bloody plague.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you go back and watch the videos before the fight was made official, before the IBF made, she's like, oh, yeah, I don't need to fight her. And now it's all like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to, like all the bullshit she carries on.
Yeah, she did switch up. So it's going to be taking place on December the 10th over in Leeds. You voiced your frustration about how you feel the fight should be in Australia. I do too. But, is it safe to say, that the fight will do big? And you got a chance to talk to Shannon O'Connell twice already, right? It's been twice.
Yeah, twice, yep. So,
but is it safe to say, do you feel that the fight is bigger in Australia, brings more money than it would if it was in do you feel that the fight, brings more money in the UK, or would it have brought more and been more popular and successful in Australia?
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. Considering that Ebanie's established over there and her lingerie G-string show her ass on the scale things works over there, it'll attract more money over there. I mean, here, her little routine, no one gives a rat's ass about, right?
But you just feel that a fight like this should have been on Australian soil, though, no matter what.
Fucking oath. Well, I mean, why would you take it? I mean, if it's like anything, if you promote, it doesn't matter what the product is. If you promote it correctly with clever marketing, you can sell it. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, that's what Eddie's supposed to be. If he's such a great promoter, then it shouldn't be too hard to promote 2 Australian girls in Australia for a world title.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
Bob and Lou are doing it. So,
Yeah, in Australia, both Americans.
What? Who's both
Bob and Lou, Americans promoting in Australia.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know what you meant. Like, yes, exactly. I mean, imagine if Susie and Shanika had 3 months build up.
Yeah.
And not 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's going to be on undercard.
In my opinion on that fight, hang on. In my opinion on that fight, right? I want to say this now. If Shannon doesn't get the knockout, I don't think she's going to get the win on the cards. That's the other reason I'm pissed off. That's in England.
You think she'll get a gift decision, just like Ebanie Bridges? Many feel that she got a gift against Mali's Gangloff.
Well, think about it. Is there any money if Shannon takes the title home to Australia for Eddie?
Nope.
Well, what more needs to be said?
Yeah, there you go. You know, and that belt, it's, you know, politics behind it too in that division. You know, so that belt, you know, is basically what he's paying for to keep it on Ebanie. And, you know, remember when she first got that deal with Matchroom, you know, so Eddie, you know, Eddie and her team, they've invested in her and in that lingerie.
Exactly. And don't forget that her manager manages Jamie Mitchell, Melissa Parker, and a couple of other girls.
Yeah.
Like Lucas Brand said at the start of that video, it's all politics and bullshit.
Yeah.
So
well, it's going to be an undercard of Josh Warrington versus Luis Lopez, a fight I'm not looking forward to. In fact, you know, like I'm not even really feeling, you know, what Josh Warrington's been doing. It's almost like he's being protected. You know, I think you have Shannon Courtenay in a TBA. So this is her first fight back in some time. And, you know, Ebanie Bridges, Shannon Courtenay, and Jamie Mitchell are in a round robin there. Then you say there was a possibility of a Jamie Mitchell and a Susie Ramadan fight.
Yeah, Susie. Yeah, at one point, yeah. But
okay, got you.
Jamie Mitchell couldn't obtain a visa to get into Australia.
Okay, so yeah, so right there you can see, you know, and Shannon Courtenay and Jamie Mitchell have a rematch clause. So you can see how closely these girls are circling each other. You know, even you know, Shannon O'Connell is now in the mix. So if she was to defeat Ebanie Bridges, she'll like fully, you know, she'll mess up the whole plans for Matchroom. So she's not supposed to win. You know?
Exactly. And if she wins and Susie wins, the likelihood of them two fighting each other just goes through the roof.
Yeah, but what, like, you know, how would you feel how about Ebanie Bridges, you know, if she wins? It's clearly going, in my opinion, going to be the biggest win of her career. And she's already proven to us that she can fight. But if she was to beat Shannon O'Connell, it would be somewhat of the equivalent of, I want to say about the next fight we're going to talk about a little bit, of if, you know, how I personally feel that if Claressa Shields were to beat Savannah Marshall, like that's her rival, you know, like, do you consider them like that's the woman that Ebanie Bridges is going to have to get through? Like, who's the rival for Ebanie Bridges? Like that, you know, is it Shannon?
Yeah, well, she's got many rivals.
But the one though, that she has to beat.
Yeah, I would. But there's also the thing is, even if she beats Shannon, there's still Susie and Shanika out there. So there's always someone that she has to beat. Mm-hmm. So, but at the moment, Shannon is the #1 rival. If she beats Shannon, there's still Susie, and there's still Shanika. So, unless Ebanie beats them all, it's like Fury. Unless he beats them all, there's always someone else there that has to beat.
Yeah. But right now, I think that, in my opinion, that, you know, the way it's looking is that Shannon is the one that, you know, like if she beats, it'll be bigger than if she beats Susie or if she beats Shanika. You know, for her career. I don't know. That's just my opinion from the outside looking in.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I think if Ebanie was to beat Susie, it would be a bigger win because of Susie's achievements. Yeah. So, but at the moment, Shannon's on the plate, and if she does get over Shannon, obviously it'll be a great win. But then again, I mean, her last, you know, the gift decision against Gelgoff is still a sour taste in everyone's mouth. So. Even if she wins, people will be questioning, well, did she get a gift decision? We'll have to find out on the night. Yeah. I mean, if she knocks Shannon out, then there's no argument, is there? So, but, you know, we'll see what happens. If she does win, and it's, you know, a good win, you can't argue with the decision, it'll be certainly solidify her place. But then she's got to worry about all the other champions. So.
All right, a couple quick things. Another pair of female fights right now is you have Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. Who do you got there?
Oh, Savannah Marshall's going to knock Shields' head off. So
yeah.
That's fine. I think she's too big and too strong.
Yeah, and she's highly skilled. I call her the female Tyson Fury. But we're going to be providing full coverage on the channel for that fight as well. So expect a lot of Shields versus Marshall content. And Michaela Mayer versus Alicia Baumgartner.
Michaela Mayer.
I got Michaela Mayer as well. You know,
yeah,
Alicia, but however,
Alicia,
go ahead.
no, you go.
No, I just feel that Michaela Mayer is the better overall boxer, but Alicia's going to be the hardest puncher that Michaela Mayer has faced, and I've covered both of their careers extensively.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to remember, Alicia Baumgartner turned Terry Harper into a statue.
She did.
She hit her that fucking hard. She just she just went stiff. And you have to hit someone extremely hard to do that.
Yeah.
For their brain just to stiffen them up. That's a bloody hard hit.
Yeah, that's you know, some head trauma right there. Also, Terry Harper just a couple of weeks ago won a title with the 154-pound division. You know, defeating Rankin.
Yeah, that was she filled into that 154 frame pretty well.
Yeah, she did.
She looks
she's
good.
huge.
She looks solid.
Yeah, she's huge. So
she looks solid.
So before we talk about Haney Kambosos to close out the video, you had Dennis Hogan defeat Sam Eggington this weekend to win what? What title was that Dennis Hogan won?
IBO 154. Isn't that the same title that Terry Harper just won? She won WBA as well.
Yeah, she had an IBO. Yep, she did. Yep, she did capture the and that's crazy at 154. Both of them. Wow. Yep. Terry Harper out here as big as Dennis Hogan. Jeez. Well, you know, women don't rehydrate as much, you know, like, you know, if at all anything. But still, you know, Dennis Hogan 31-4-1 with 7 KOs, 37 years old. But did he look good?
Oh yeah, he looked good. He did what was necessary to win. Hey, man?
So he don't look like washed, because you lose to a guy like Sam Eggington, no disrespect to Sam Eggington, you know, then it's like, okay, all right, maybe it's time you start, you know, think about hanging him up.
Oh, Dennis has said many times that his next loss will be his last, and he's going to call it a day. So, but no, he looked good. And also to the fact, Dennis looked good, but also Eggington looked like shit.
Okay.
And he openly admitted that he didn't study Dennis at all, and that's just plain stupidity. Why would you not watch at least one tape of him? Why wouldn't you study your opponent? I mean, that's just warfare 101. Study your opponent. So
but he wasn't. Sam Eggington is not necessarily known as a guy, you know, that you would call a student of the game.
No, I mean, you look at his record. Every time he stepped up in competition, he's lost. Like he fought Liam Smith. Who else has he lost to? So
yeah, Ted Cheeseman. I covered that fight.
Yeah, Ted Cheeseman, and Ted Cheeseman's no threat at 154. I mean, he's up there, but he's no threat. So
yeah, and he lost to Bradley Skeet, and he's got that lone win. He retired Paulie Malignaggi. I remember that.
Yeah, so Sam Eggington, I really don't think that he took that fight seriously, and that's a lot of the mistakes that these international champions, when they come to Australia, they're like, oh, this will just be an easy fight. I'll get in, I'll beat the piss out of him, I'll go home, and they lose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what Haney needs to look out for this weekend. I mean, he's returning, so he's been here before.
But overall, though, go ahead. But overall, though, how did how did the card look? You know, like, was it a good card? Good.
Yeah, good card.
You know,
good, he got up. I honestly thought that was going to be a barn burner, but old mate quit on the stool, I think, in round 3.
Okay.
If I'm correct. Or round 3 or round 4.
Yeah, it was round 3.
That was a bit of a disappointment. I was actually looking for those two to really kick the shit out of each other, and it was a bit of a disappointment. Sam Goodman, once again, put in a excellent performance. Jason Cooper, holy shit, how tough was that bugger? The fight probably should have been stopped because Jason was taking some ridiculous punishment, but he just kept coming and coming and coming at Sam. Made Sam work. I mean, Sam clearly won the fight, but Jason made him work for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even though Jason was getting outclassed in the fight, he just kept coming and coming and coming at him. So
what did they call this card again? What was it called? Because it had
Super Saturday.
So they had what, 16 fights? Something like that?
19
fights. And with the whole entire card televised?
Yeah, well, they had the prelims from 12 until 4. Then Fox Sports KO kicked off at 4 o'clock with and more prelims. And then the main card from 7 p.m. on main event. So it was about...
so this was a pay-per-view.
Only 6 fights of it. Yeah, but built up for pay-per-view,
they charge you guys for anything over there.
Yeah, well, Australian boxing's proved that they'll charge you $60 for anything. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so you got a chance. What was it? what was it, yesterday your time, to go to, what was the event with Devin Haney and George Kambosos wasn't there, right? I saw you got a chance to talk to Bill Haney and Devin Haney.
George was there. George, it was a sports, Fox Sports, Devin, Haney Kambosos face-off when they sit him down on a couch and they talk about
that type of face-off. I thought it was a I know what you're talking about. I thought it was a face-off like where they go to a public place and do a face-off like in front of it. You know how they'll go like outside the arena or something? That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, that's what we all thought it was too. Everyone's like, no, it's a sit-down. We're like, what?
Yeah,
we thought it was exactly the same thing. It was just going to be a photo shoot and an opportunity to talk to the boxers, but it was an actual sit-down.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we didn't get to watch that. They kicked us out, but I'm sure Fox Sports will put it on the air when they feel like it. But yeah,
okay.
But I got a chance to talk to. I didn't get a chance to talk to George because he was pretty much in and out. But I got a couple of about 15 seconds with Devin. So
yeah, well, let's go listen to what Lou DiBella had to say and his thoughts on the fight, because I did find that to be pretty interesting. You know, because he was very open and candid about what George had to do to win. And that he pretty much had to throw caution out the window. But take your time out, like the video, subscribe. When was this video again? I mean, when did you shoot this interview? About how long before we're shooting this video? How long ago?
2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So it's currently, what time is it now? It's 11. It's what, 11:30 in the morning at the moment. So 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, around then.
All right. So you can go ahead and follow Big J over on Twitter at @OldMateBigJ. And please, while you're here, just drop a like. Really helps us get up in the YouTube algorithm.
60 J Big J, and I'm here with Lou DiBella, one of the promoters of Haney Kambosos too. Mate, welcome back to the country.
Good to be here, man.
You must be pumped for Sunday, mate.
I'm pumped because I expect a much better fight. I expect the fight we didn't get the last time, but it's going to be up to George. It's going to be up to George Kambosos to make this a better fight.
Absolutely.
And after the way the last fight went down, I believe he's going to make that happen.
Yeah.
And he needs to throw caution to the wind. He needs to get past Haney's jab. He needs to make Devin uncomfortable, and he needs to sell out. He needs to do things he didn't do the first time. But I know this kid, and he's a warrior, and he can't be happy with that last performance. There's no way in the world that George isn't going to fight a different fight, and I believe he's at least going to go down on his shield if he goes down. But if he fights the most aggressively and smart as he can fight, he can make this a real fight. But it's going to be up to him.
Absolutely. How do you feel having this at the iconic Rod Laver Arena?
I got to promote a stadium fight in Melbourne, and to be able to go into this historic venue, it's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, this is the right venue for this fight. The last fight, we expected fireworks, and we didn't quite get fireworks. We got technical brilliance by one fighter, and we got a very frustrated Australian Greek on the other side. I think that frustrated kid is going to redesign his game plan, and I think he's going to throw caution to the wind. And I think if he throws caution to the wind, we're in for a fun night.
Sorry, mate. No, go ahead, bro.
Do you think people underestimated George? Do you think they forget what he done with Lopez and
you can't judge a guy from one performance. And especially since, honestly, Devin is brilliant. Devin is technically brilliant. He is one of the best boxers in all of the sport. And very, very likely, in my mind, the most talented lightweight in the world is Haney. I told George and Jim Kambosos before that fight, that wasn't my recommendation to fight Devin, because his style is very difficult to beat. And his style may be very difficult for George to beat again. People may be right about that. However, do not underestimate George's balls. Do not underestimate George's tenacity. Don't underestimate his warrior spirit. Those things are going to cause him to fight differently, and they're going to make this a much better fight. So I'm not predicting any result. I'd be crazy to. He got beaten almost every round in the last fight, but he didn't sell out. He didn't go to the wall to make Devin as uncomfortable as Devin can be.
Didn't go life and death.
What?
Didn't go life and death.
He's got to do that. And if he does that this time, I think you're going to see a very different fight.
I think he has to
anybody that's expecting the same kind of fight from last time is just wrong. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a much better fight.
He's got to turn into another great Australian legend, Jeff Fennick. He has to fight.
He's got to fight
like that style. Like
he's got to fight without regard for his well-being. He's got to. He's fighting a guy that you can't box with. You have to make Devin uncomfortable. Devin is too good to box with him and think that you're going to be able to technically outclass him. That's not going to happen. George needs to make him uncomfortable. George needs to make it a brawl. George needs to get inside, and he fucking better know that. And I think he does. I think he does.
and with the more intimate crowd, you think that's going to get behind him? Because we're only for 14,000.
Anybody who doesn't come to this is nuts, because this is a better card than the last card. The Maloney fights have better opposition. They're both in very meaningful fights. The Trinica Johnson fight with Susie Ramadan is not only the best fight you can make, female fight you can make in Australia, one of the best female fights you can make in Australia, it's one of the best female fights you can make in the world. So Absolutely. This card is loaded, and I always prefer a smaller venue. The bigger the venue, the less the experience, in my view. So when you come to a place like this is going to be intimate, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a great card. And it's going to be a way better fight than the last time.
That was Lou DiBella giving his thoughts on what George Kambosos has to do. And I agree. He's got to, he's got to get past that jab. He's never going to outbox Devin Haney. And as George Kambosos said, he has to go to, pretty much the Emperor's dead. It's time for the ferocious one to come back. Because that's what he's got to do. Now, can he do it? I said my example was, something as of, recent, even though it wasn't that recent, the way Marcos Maidana fought Floyd Mayweather. He wasn't coming to box. He was coming to fight. And that's what George got to do. He can't go out there and try to let Devin Haney get into a rhythm. Because one thing I noticed about Devin Haney is that he hasn't got to the point where he's letting that right hand go. He'll jab, jab, jab. He doesn't have that killer instinct just yet. And George doesn't want to be the guy where he does get it and then knock him out. So, he's got to but hope that Devin Haney is going to be that same fighter from the first fight. Yeah, fighters adjust, but I'm guessing I'm expecting for Devin Haney to expect for George Kambosos to be more aggressive. But that's the only shot I'm giving Kambosos is if he goes out there, goes balls to the wall. And as Lou DiBella, his promoter, said, throw caution to the wind. Your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly the same. I mean, how long have I been saying beating this drum since he lost the first fight?
Yeah.
Even before the first fight. I said he needs to go out there, walk, as soon as the opening bell goes, he needs to run, not walk, right up to him and put 50 into him in the first 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Same thing that Jeff Horn did to Pacquiao. So that wasn't a technical fight. That was just a bloodbath. So yeah, it was just a brawl. So George needs to do the same thing because it's a fight. You're not there playing chess. So yeah, you have to throw caution to the wind, eat a couple of jabs, and just smack him out.
Yeah. So, Devin Haney is 28-0 with 15 KOs. It's expected that if he were to win, he's going to go on to fight Lomachenko. Lomachenko is going to be fighting Jermaine Ortiz on October the 29th. So they're both on the same time frame. And then also there's a ticking time on how long Devin Haney is going to be staying at 140 pounds. 135 pounds before moving to 140. Now George Kambosos, he said, he's going to be staying at 135 pounds, 20-1 with 10 KOs, 29 years old. So what's the ticket sales looking like?
Looking good. So far, according to reports, it's about 10,000 plus sold. It only holds 14,200. Okay. So, it should be a decent crowd. And, being it's fight week, I dare say they'll probably snap up those last few thousand tickets, hopefully by the end of the week. So.
Okay. In the undercard, it's going to be Jason Maloney versus Nawafon Kakanha, Andrew Maloney versus Norberto Jimenez, and Shanika Johnson versus Susie Q Ramadan. That is the main pay-per-view card, and I'm guessing that's the portion that's going to be here in the States on regular Top Rank on ESPN. So that Maloney versus Kakanha, that's supposed to be for the that's going to be a WBC final eliminator, correct? I'm pretty sure that is.
WBC. Yeah, that'll be the mandatory for Inoue. Inoue Butler winner.
And that's going to be in December also on ESPN. And it's expected that if Inoue wins, he'll be undisputed at 118 pounds and he'll be moving up to 122. So that would open up a vacant title for the winner of Maloney versus King Haha.
Yeah, that works out good for Maloney, that's for sure. Yeah. So, what ranking is old mate that Andrew's fighting? Was he like 3 or 4 or something at WBO?
Norberto Jimenez, he is number 2. I covered him when he fought Donny Nietes in a controversial fight about a year or so ago. He's number 2 by the WBO, number 3 by the WBC. Andrew Maloney's number 5 by the WBC, number 6 by the WBA. Jimenez is number 9 by the WBA. Andrew Maloney's number 9 by the IBF. And Jimenez, let me see, he is not ranked by the IBF. But basically, both of these fighters are ranked in at least 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very significant fight. I mean, Jason Maloney, I honestly think that he's going to knock this Thailand bloke into Footscray, which is a western suburb about 10 k's west of where we're going to be in Richmond. So I think Jason's going to belt that Thai bloke.
I think so too.
Andrew, I think he'll probably get a solid win, but obviously, and we all know this, the fight I'm looking to the most on the card is Shanika versus Susie. So.
Yeah, you got a chance to talk to Susie. Now, how did this fight come about?
I don't know. It just come out of the blue. I mean, 1 minute, which Susie was talking about fighting Jamie Mitchell. Jamie Mitchell couldn't get into the country, and next thing you know, she's fighting Shanika.
Yeah.
Right, fantastic. Sounds good.
Susie,
Shanika hasn't fought since
go ahead.
About 6 months. April 20th wasn't because she won that belt on the undercard to Zarafa Hardman. That was April 20th, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, lost to Shannon O'Connell. How did that fight go with her and Shannon? I forgot. Like what? Like did she really lose?
It was very close, but Shannon did enough to get the win. Yeah. Okay. So it was a close fight. Yet Shannon did win. So
and that was back of March in 2021.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was on the undercard to Zarafa Mundine.
Okay.
In Bendigo.
And Shanika is 14-1 with 6 KOs. And Susie Ramadan is 29-3 with 12 KOs, 43 years old. And just about 8 months ago, not even that, we were talking about, like, damn, when is she going to fight? When is she going to get a fight?
And now she's got 2.
And now she's opening up. She's going to be the opening fight on the main card, like other pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And fighting here, televised here in the States.
Yeah.
So congratulations to her. Yeah, that's a big rise right there.
Well, congratulations to both because initially they were trying to get Zarafa versus Scriver Falco. So obviously that didn't happen because Triple G is keeping his belts.
Yeah.
But this is just as good, if not better.
Okay.
So. Yeah,
all right.
So.
Closing thoughts. You're going to be at the press conference, and then we're going to talk again after the weigh-in. And then do our final predictions on the fight. Maybe after the press conference. We'll see probably the press conference and the weigh-in. Do our final preview and predictions on the fight. And then I'm going to be here on fight night covering the fight. But depending, it's a very, very busy schedule. So we will likely be streaming during the main event of both Haney versus Kambosos and Wilder versus Robert Helenius, which is going to be on PBC on Fox pay-per-view. So it's going to be a very, very big weekend. Both of those cards are competing cards, by the way. But I'm expecting for Haney Kambosos to be over by the time Wilder and Helenius step into the ring. That's just I think that's what they're going to do. Because here in the States, they don't like to have main events overlap in boxing. On the rare times they do have 2 somewhat, high. We can call these high-profile events because it's a Saturday night card here in the States. And over in Australia, it's on pay-per-view. And we're talking Haney Kambosos. So it's considered a top card here in the States, despite what fans, may feel. But your closing thoughts?
I'm just looking forward to the whole weekend. I mean, we've got there's too many fights on this weekend, but I'm only going to focus on Paro versus Jarvis and Haney versus Kambosos. I'm not going to focus on the others. I feel sorry for you. I mean, what do you got covered? Like 6 fucking fight cards or some shit?
Yeah, and I am going to do all of them, So I am going to do starting with Paro Jarvis. I am going to do all of them. So I'm looking at about 16-hour, 18-hour day or so, give or take. I've been off for almost 2 weeks. So, this is me making up for all of that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. I look forward to getting to the press conference where I'll get in another question. Pray to God my voice doesn't bloody blow out like it did last time. I'm still not living that down. I'll get more interviews. I'll talk to whoever I can get a hold of on Friday. Look forward to the whole thing. Can't wait.
Okay. All right, guys. Once again, you can follow me at TstreeT Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J. It's right down below in the description box. And also, as you can see, it's right down below at the bottom of the screen. So it's going to be a lot of content from Haney Kambosos coming. And also Wilder Helenius Shields versus Marshall. Plant versus Durrell, Mayer versus Baumgartner, and Paro versus Jarvis. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and drop a like while you're here and before you go. See you guys later.